Are women funny? This is a touchy subject. Many a feminist will get hot under the collar if you ever dare contest this issue. But let us look at it rationally, shall we? Have there been funny women on film and television? The short answer is, yes, of course. There is plenty of evidence to that avail. For the colonials present, there was of course the inimitable Lucille Ball, of I Love Lucy fame. Over here, I can think of quite a number off the top of my head. Margaret Rutherford, world famous for playing Miss Marple. Joyce Grenfell, perhaps best known for her appearances in St. Trinian's. Joan Sims and Hattie Jacques, of Carry On fame. Penelope Keith, who was triumphant in To the Manor Born. And Patricia Routledge, who excelled as Hyacinth Bucket, pronounced Bouquet, in keeping up appearances. So there are and were no doubt funny women. But if we are fair, their number was dwarfed by that of the funny men. The silent movie era alone gave us the likes of Fatty Arbuckle, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, Laurel and Hardy, and of course the immortal Charlie Chaplin. Compared to such giants of comedy, women's contribution seems rather thin on the ground. In truth, this is more than likely another example of the bell curve, where the male of the species is believed to exhibit much greater divergence in physical characteristics and aptitude than the female. The male is thought to be the more varied sex. Not merely in our species. Also in animals you are to find greater physical variance in males than in females. Charles Darwin already commented on this. Aside from this physical divergence, in humans there appears to be greater variance in intellectual ability and given traits among the male sex. This is usually referred to as the Variability Hypothesis. The female may dominate certain traits too, but generally clusters more around averages. When it comes to the trait of humour, I think most would agree that the male produces the greater number of out-and-out bores. But so too does he grant us the likes of Sid Caesar, Groucho Marx, Tony Hancock, Spike Milligan, and Phil Silvers, to name but a few. So are there funny women? Yes, but women are less likely to be funny. Thus there are fewer funny women, which in turn means that most funny people who actually choose to make a living with comedy will be men. In fact, the overwhelming majority will be so. This is not discrimination. It is aptitude and the sheer power of numbers. And as such, who cares? What matters is that you are made to laugh. You do not really care who is doing it. Where things start going awry is when broadcasters start demanding that a given quota of comedians be women, or when they start deliberately pushing women to front comedy shows, even though clearly there are not the numbers of women in comedy in order to warrant this. I have previously mentioned the BBC and its ridiculous demands that every recognised victim group be represented by a certain percentage of staff and on-screen talent by the year 2020. Well, nowhere is this more devastating than in comedy. For on-screen representation of women would need to be 50%. Jo Brand pretty much made a career of being unfunny on the BBC, being again and again cast as a required female member of a comedy panel show, who time and again went on to contribute nothing worthwhile. In America too we are seeing individuals like Amy Schumer and Melissa McCarthy pushed to the fore. Neither of these ladies produce examples of sparkling wit. The sad fact is that political correctness is the death of comedy. Not merely does it insist what jokes may not be made, what subjects may not be touched upon, but so too does it insist on who should be telling the jokes. Comedy was one of the most meritocratic forms of entertainment on the planet. The rules were simple. The audience either laughed or it did not. Nobody was there telling women they were not permitted. Pray, who was there to tell Margaret Rutherford that she was unsuitable for comedy? Nobody. People laughed. That sufficed. But now we inhabit a different space. Now we are told at what we ought to laugh. Rather than our having expectations of the performer, it is now the performer who expects us to live up to required standards. No matter that women are much less likely to be funny, no matter whether the woman placed before us is as funny as the Black Death, we are to laugh, or else be branded sexist. In that regard, we now get what we are given, and we ought to like it. Audience response is no longer the primary arbiter of success in comedy. No, the identity of the performer is paramount. So the fewer men, the better, apparently. Given the current climate, it is fair to say that figures widely regarded as hugely influential in comedy history would most likely never get their chance today, simply because they are of the wrong sex. No doubt the entire world will have noticed a distinct drop in comedy output by the Western world lately, but in no country is this more noticeable than in the United Kingdom. This is a nation very much defined by comedy. We are famed for it. During the Second World War, the Germans were amazed that their British prisoners of war kept up the jokes, no matter what. We have produced generation after generation of world-class comic writers and comedians. It has been part of the national culture. Now, however, there is a dearth. Social justice and political correctness have laid waste to a national tradition. With their everlasting politicizing of humour, they have succeeded in making Britain that bit less British. They have diminished our culture, and they wonder why they are not popular. So once again, women are funny, but there are far fewer funny women than funny men. Any truly funny woman will come to the fore, no matter what, for humour is a meritocracy. Those who make you laugh succeed. Telling us at what to laugh, and at whom, is not only patronising, it is futile. That is all from the Cyberpass for now. Thank you very much, and goodbye.